blackouts are likely this winter. We've heard this morning. Eskom saying the grid is constrained with a severe shortfall of capacity. I'm now joined by Jacob Maroga, former CEO of the utility. And Mr. Maroga, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. I'm sure you've been listening to that conversation by my colleague Hadi Jokkers and Khalib Kasim, the acting CEO at Eskom, as well as the State of the System address. My first question to you is, could there be better planning by Eskom in terms of preparing the country, preparing businesses for what is looming this particular winter period? Could there have been a better planning, or was this the best that they could have offered the country?
Good morning, Tumelo. I suppose they're doing the best they can. The situation is dire, as you could see. And I think coming out and warning the country that we are likely to hit stage 8, I think it's responsible. It's not good news, but it's what it is. And we are tired, and it's going to be a very, very tough winter.
We've heard the acting CEO saying that we should not be worried, or at least he's not worried. He's not losing any sleep in terms of concerning himself with a complete national shutdown. Hence, we're seeing the implementation of load shedding, right, so that we don't see that day coming where the system completely, or the grid rather, completely collapses. But do you have that faith, Mr. Maroga, with your experience at Eskom, with you, of course, following with the very latest at the power utility? Do you share the very same confidence that we will not be experiencing a complete grid collapse?
Yeah, first of all, let's understand and appreciate the people who work at what is called the system operator. Highly qualified people, experienced, and I mean, for a number of years now, they've been doing load shedding and managing the grid in such a way that we don't have an uncontrolled collapse of the grid. And also understanding that load shedding is sort of the initial stages of managing the grid. There are still what is called levels of contingencies, that if, for instance, we go lower in terms of the supply and the frequency goes down, there are certain systems that are embedded in the power system that will automatically kick in order to protect what is called protecting the frequency. So on that basis, I agree that the probability for blackout is still quite low. But the fact that we're doing load shedding means we are managing the risk. So I'm still comfortable that the blackout probability is still quite low.
Yeah, Mr. Maroga, what do you also make of the concerns around sabotage at our power stations in South Africa? I mean, we've often heard about sabotage and corruption sort of like taking Eskom back with regards to the progress they have made, or they continue to make, in making sure that they manage the grid. But oftentimes we've heard, even during the Scopa sitting, with different law enforcement saying it seems the daily report that they receive around some sort of sabotage at power stations. And I heard one of the executives saying that they try to report and leave the investigations to the law enforcement authorities so they can focus on running these plants. But should we be worried that while Eskom is trying, even with the level of skill and technicality that they have at their disposal to run Eskom, it seems they're still working alongside this devil, the sabotage that is working against them?
Right, the enterprise. Because you don't know what's happening. But let me say this in terms of what I would be worried about, and things that are in the public domain. I think issues around coal supply are the biggest risk for Eskom. And it's less about sabotage, but it's about coal logistics. Eskom has reported in terms of which stations are performing the best. It's Matimba, it's Letabo, and it's Medupi. And they are top 6, which constitute about 18,000 megawatts of Eskom, which are poorly performing. And when you look at the difference between the ones that are performing well and the ones that are struggling, you see the issues about coal supply chain. The 3 best stations have got stable coal supply. They've got dedicated mines, and the mines can supply the full complement of coal to the stations. The rest have don't have a full complement from dedicated mines. Therefore, they have to source mines from different places. It put pressure on the logistics, but it's also compromised consistent quality. And if you look at that, for me, it's the biggest risk. And it's beyond just sabotage, but it's just coal logistics.
In my last question before I let you go then, Ms. Maroga, please allow me to ask about how do we fare with the rest of the world? I mean, in one of his opening statements, the board chairperson emphasized, or rather Eskom in general, emphasized speaking on how this is a global phenomena. This is not unique to South Africa. What we're going through with the energy crisis, I think if my memory serves me correct, he even reiterated this during his SCOPA introductory statement that, this is not unique just to South Africa. But how would you compare us to the rest of the world in terms of how we're faring, not only with the energy crisis, but how we're dealing with it?
Well, look, I think it's difficult to compare. We have got a unique problem, which is, our coal units are not performing. We used to be the best in terms of management of coal, the size of units that we have, the quality of coal we have, but we still were the best. We have deteriorated. I mean, we cannot deny the fact that we're no longer at the best of our game in terms of managing coal stations, hence where we are in terms of load shedding. But I think we also, on the other side, there are still good people in Eskom. The system operator, as much as we have problems, the system operator demonstrated capability to manage a very complex system which is under distress.
And I appreciate you speaking to me this morning about this. Thank you so much. Former CEO of Eskom, Jacob Maroga, thank you for your time. At the back of the State of the System address by Eskom's interim CEO, Caleb Kassim, as well as the board, including the board's chairperson, Mpho Makwana. But what we know so far, just in summary, in case you've missed it, you can catch the live stream recording still, I suppose, on our YouTube channel, eNCA. That's where that full system address was, of course, conducted at Megawatt Park. But we know that Eskom confirming that we are 3,000 megawatts short. This compared to what we had just last year winter. This due to Kusile and Kuberg power units being down at the moment, but we're not anywhere near a complete grid collapse or a national blackout because measures are currently in place. This according to Eskom to ensure that this does not happen. So it's definitely not going to be an easy winter. It will be dark, it will be cold, but they are assuring us, as they have, of course, communicated during this press briefing, that we will be seeing higher stages of load shedding, but they're doing all they can that it does not reach the maximums of stage 8.